we are actually seeing a huge shift away from subscriptions.
I feel like it's always a trend.
The people who invented subscription-based pricing are now shifting away much faster than ever before. A lot of it driven by AI.
AI can code a lot faster. We don't need as many developers.
Companies talking about laying off people.
So of course you want to realign yourself with your customers' value.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Pricing Guys. I'm Michael the Champ.
And I'm Avi.
So for those of you who haven't watched the first episode this year, I'm calling myself the Champ because I won the first inaugural Pricing Guys Price is Right. So for this foreseeable future, I will be the champ.
We will be having a second competition very shortly, so we can get rid of that name from Michael.
We are not competitive.
Figure it out.
We're not competitive at all. So what we're going to talk about today is a little bit of an interesting dichotomy that we're seeing in, just the market in general. And when I say the market, I mean the broad market. We did an episode last year on subscription-based pricing and how everything's moving. I think we talked about like haircuts being subscription-based. And what's interesting is working in the software technology industry a lot, we are actually seeing a huge shift away from subscriptions. We're seeing more and more companies try and move towards usage-based models and move away from subscription. So it's a really interesting dynamic in the market because the people who invented subscription-based pricing are now shifting away much faster than ever before. A lot of it driven by AI, but they're moving as quickly as they can away from subscription-based pricing, whereas it feels like everything else is moving towards subscription-based pricing. What are your thoughts on that?
I feel like it's always a trend. And as COVID happened and everyone sold a lot more subscriptions out there, right? And it was great because everyone needed more seats to be on it, and we were dispersed, and the cash flow was good, right? But now it feels like the trend's going the other way. You don't require as many seats. To your point, like AI can code a lot faster. We don't need as many developers, so we don't need as many people to be on that platform as it was before.
Well, even thinking like AI in general, if I think about the simplest thing is like Office 365, well, all these companies talking about laying off people because they're having synergies with AI. I don't need as many 365 licenses.
100%. And then it gets interesting because, you're looking at your core revenue base. Well, it's gone down now. It's just shrunk on the amount of seats. So, of course, you want to realign yourself with your customer's value. And that's where you start coming to, well, what's the usage? What are the outcomes associated with it? And what's that value that we're creating? Because you're being forced to go there.
I think one of the biggest things, though, is and that I don't hear enough people talking about is, yes, the outcome and the usage makes sense, but it's the right metric. And I think it's two things that I'm seeing. One, people aren't talking enough about that there's an overload of metrics. We see companies that are, 10 different metrics. It's confusing. No one knows what's going on. Mm-hmm. But I think even more to that, no one's thinking about the expandability of the metric. And I think back to, years and years ago when I started in pricing, and I remember you and I working on a consulting project, like this is probably 2 decades ago. And we were looking at the expandability of different categories within it was a consumer goods company in the grocery aisle. And for those of you who don't know what I mean when I say expandability, in traditional kind of CPG sense, we think about, can I get the person to buy more? Are they going to consume more? So if I think about a chocolate bar, well, doing a 2-for-1 promotion on a chocolate bar is probably pretty good because all of a sudden I put 2 chocolate bars in your hand. Chances are you're probably going to eat that other chocolate bar later in the day or maybe the next day. You're probably going to eat it before the next time you want a chocolate bar or that you had planned to buy one. Whereas if I go completely the other opposite direction and I think about something that's not expandable like laundry detergent. Well, if I do 2-for-1 sale on laundry detergent, it's not like you're like, great, I got more laundry detergent. I'm going to go home and do more laundry now. Right? You're just going to bulk buy and it's going to sit in your cupboard until you're ready to do more laundry. And I feel like we do not have that critical of a view on what our metrics are when we think about usage. We're not thinking about what metric can actually expand with the customer.
it's interesting because it's requires a very deep understanding of the behaviors and then what's actually creating value for the customer as well. And it's so much more of a complex question in software and technology. Like it's easy on the food and bev side, or if we're selling condoms, right? That expandability, it's really easy. But if we're talking about, let's say we're talking about a HR software platform, and we want to go ahead and create a usage-based metric. Like, is that, and we want to put a usage-based metric around, let's say it's performance appraisals that you go ahead and you put into this platform. As you say, that expandability, well, is it true the more we use the platform, the more we're going to want to appraise employees using it? And it'll naturally kind of expand, and we can create a sustainable increase on the revenue base, and it makes it more sticky? Or is it just kind of table stakes?
It's interesting because then what people don't talk about is what's the game of the system. Because I remember years ago when we were looking at expense management software,
Mm-hmm.
and I think like the gold standard, I think it probably still is today, is like SAP Concur.
I thought you were going to say Expensify.
Oh no, no, they've changed their model a little bit. But SAP Concur, you paid like the monthly fee, but then you paid per report. And what was interesting was there's a huge encouragement that like, oh, you go on a business trip, you know, file your report at the end of the week. But the behavior that instilled, at least in what we saw, is like, well, I'm going to hold all my expenses for 3 months, right? And then I'm going to do them all every quarter. That way I can save the dollars per, I could only do one report instead of having done, 15 reports. That's going to save me a bunch of money. So it's one of those things that you have to be very careful that you're not driving the wrong behavior from the customer standpoint as well. Because, to your example, well, what if we just stop doing performance reviews, right? Or we're going to do them annually as opposed to monthly or something like that.
100%, or we're going to do them for different tiers of our employees or at different cadences or whatnot, just to kind of manage that expense. So it's a really, really tough question for companies to answer. And I think it's a totally new challenge, right? Because in a lot of cases, I feel that subscriptions inherently they make a company get lazy, right? Like the whole we do a bunch of development, we put it out there, we get everyone using it, and then we just watch the money flow in, right? They've got these amount of seats that are out there, and we do our updates and whatnot. But it's great that we can just get this money flowing in. Now, what you're describing on, hey, seats are going down, I don't need as many of these people, that's like a real structural, fundamental shift. And you have to totally, to your point, re-examine, like, how are we truly creating value? And a lot of these companies, they don't know, right? They haven't fundamentally asked any of these questions before. So, going into like your expense system or like that HR system, like what do we want them doing? And if they do more of that, how does our platform become more valuable to them, more sticky, and can get naturally more interaction? And a lot of that relates back to, well, them using our product, how does it drive value in their organization?
Yeah. And I think the other thing to kind of think about is, how has that value changed? I think about, you mentioned the expense management software. I remember when we piloted one, like this is like 7-8 years ago, it was $5 per person per month. Same product today, I think is like $20 or $25 per person per month. So like that is a wild, change in a couple of years. And I think what's even crazier is that now with the advent of AI, we're seeing that, hold on a second, you want me to pay $25 a seat for X number of seats when I can get this AI agent to do 80-90% of what it was doing, and it, almost minimal incremental cost to what I'm doing today. I think that's what's really driving a lot of companies to re-examine, is a subscription model, do I have to move more to a usage-based model? But I think the one thing that worries me and I see people doing time and time again, I think they're overcorrecting. And they're not thinking about that expandability. They're moving right, they're going from like 0 to 100, and then they're getting to 100 and saying, oh, hold on, I don't think I thought this through enough. As opposed to thinking about what could a hybrid model look like. And it's very analogous to like platform plays that we've seen over the last couple of years kind of popping up where, you have some kind of mix of, yeah, there is a usage component, there might be a per seat component, there might be a fixed price component, but how are people thinking about, different ways to kind of mix and match these things to bring out true value, but also protect yourself against the downside?
I think to your point that you have those hybrid options available, but what's critical is enabling your sales team that they can understand the customer and which option fits with them,
Yeah.
given what we're trying to do, what we're trying to achieve.
It all starts with a good segmentation.
Yeah, 100%, right? And then how do we target that at which customers we want to go after? Because to your point, if we just have, now we can have everything from outcome right back to seats and mix and match how you want to and kind of KPIs at the wazoo, just gets totally complicated, right? And we've got
Yeah.
to lead the customer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's beauty in the simplicity, because I think a lot of the times where I'm seeing people fall apart, it's not that the customer doesn't understand the pricing structure, what you're doing. It's that your own internal sales team doesn't understand that. And if they don't understand that, how are you asking them to go out and sell it and communicate that value? It's kind of like, would you, if you didn't understand how to fix a car, would you let that guy, try and fix your car? Like, no, you'd be like, hey, you need to actually know what you're kind of doing, and you need to understand this before you can actually work on this.
So I think to sum up today, as we talk about the death of subscription, one,
I think that's too harsh, by the way.
It's definitely too harsh.
I've seen a lot of articles coming out that per seat, it's all dead. I think that's a bit premature. It's definitely evolving, no doubt, but dead might be too far.
And I think the issue is, a lot of companies, it's a cycle, right? You see the usage, the seats going down, you move to usage. Then you go back and you want to go back the other way. It's really important that you're not kind of going from trough to height. You get a good understanding of your customer and build for the long term versus all this kind of breakneck adjustments that we're seeing.
Consistency and simplicity.
100%. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.